Alright. Let's just head on back to Shion's cool city adventures, where nothing can possibly go wrong. Let's get it going. It's a very quiet afternoon, as always. Since I can't go outside as myself, I have to match schedules with Mion when I go shopping. I've gotten used to it by now, so it's no longer a hassle. Because of this, I naturally have to buy things in bulk. Today, I shuttled between shops and my home.
あれは買った、これも買った。ああ、そうだ。今日って100円セールの日じゃなかったっけ？
Yo, 100 yen sale, let's go!
忘れてた。
Being in a good mood, I spun around with my arms spread out. I felt like a little whirlwind. My arm hit a motorcycle parked in the sidewalk. It obviously wasn't where it was supposed to be. Uh-oh. Uh-oh! We knocked the motorcycle down, and this time it wasn't our gigantic boner that did it.
もう、何こんなとこに止めてるの誰？
I gave it a kick with no hesitation. There were 3 motorcycles lined up there in a row. They all fell down like dominoes. This is already a very cool city adventure, just so we're clear. It was a beautiful sight. This is fun, I thought. I love being a vandal. Being in such a good mood made me leave my guard down. I didn't realize that the owners of the motorcycles were right nearby. They looked pretty scary. They grabbed me by the neck and dragged me into a dark alley. Well, this is bad. Things have taken a turn for our dear protagonist, Shion Sanazaki. Then they called me all kinds of names, like Butt Face and Poop Head. Everything was happening too quickly for me to grasp what was going on. Oh, we're getting this again. Fantastic! Gonna fucking bash your head in, bitch! Whoa! They can't really talk. They really can't talk properly. I didn't have a clue what they were saying. I had to translate their alien tongue into normal human words in order to understand. We are very upset because you knocked down our motorcycles. You should immediately pay for the repair and compensation. Yeah, that was probably it. That's our offer. What do you say? We'd be happy to listen to your opinion. Something like that. I think she's got it. I think she's got it.
あー、ごめんなさい。さすがにそろそろ翻訳不能かも。
あ？だとぐら！
I know what they're trying to say, but somebody has to warn them about the way they park their motorcycles. It wouldn't be fair to those who obey the rules if there were no punishment for those who disobey them. This is an accident, but it must also be God's will. But God, you can use me to punish these guys, but how will you compensate me later? I heaved a huge sigh. Of course, I wasn't afraid in this situation at all because it wasn't a dangerous one for me. These 3 guys were yelling at the top of their lungs at a girl. They didn't look good doing it, and they had too many disadvantages. First, there was the differences in gender and in the number of people. Even if I did something wrong, as men shouting at a woman, it didn't make them look like they were in the right. Added to that, there were 3 of them. It already looked like it was going to get violent. Second, the location. Taking a girl into a dark, narrow alleyway is already a bad idea. On top of that, they're asking for money, not just an apology. They all have pompadours. If they don't, I would be shocked. Thanks to these facts, the public will be on my side. So this was a fight they couldn't possibly win. The only way for them to win would be to take my money before somebody finds out. Considering that, taking me to this narrow, secluded alleyway might have been a smart move, since fewer people will find out about this situation. I knew how slim their chances of winning were. From the very beginning, they had picked the wrong girl. I'm Mion Sanazaki now. It would be foolish to mug her in Okinomiya. soon enough, the people of Hinamizawa would notice me and gather round. They didn't spare mercy for their enemies, no matter what. The punks didn't know this area well. If they did, they'd have known how silly it was to rob Neon. Plus, the alleyway wasn't always as empty as they assumed. This side street is a shortcut that local people frequently use on their way home. Yo! Jetstorm, how's it going? Shion seems totally in control of this punk situation. She gives no fucks. At least they apologized quickly. In this late afternoon, many people will be passing through here. That time had almost arrived. If I held off a little longer, the street would soon be filled with people. Then the punks would have to go away. Hope you're doing well, Jet. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to wait in order to win. This was a simple fight like that. While they could hurl abusive language at me or lift me up by my collar, they weren't actually going to resort to violence. Cheers to the educational system for ingraining the ladies' first mindset. But, as a wicked person, I wanted to toy with them a bit, even though I could win this by waiting. I wanted to paint them as even more villainous and drive them into a corner that could be even harder to talk their way out of. The demonic desire was rearing its horns. To put it plainly, I need to act as a poor helpless victim a little further. Like the pathetic, pitiful, tragic heroine everyone wants to sympathize with. Oh, nice! You set up the Majora's Mask cycle for today. Cool. Well, I will let you know when we are nearing the end of the stream, and then you can go press the button. In a case like this, I shouldn't start crying immediately because they'd get nervous and draw back. If it were a truly threatening situation, that would work, but I needed something different here. I'd pretend to be strong at first. In fact, I thought, why don't I challenge them? And eventually, I'd start trembling, my voice would fade, and I'd get tears in my eyes. It'd be even better if I played the role of a strong girl who's slowly giving in to fear. Mian and I probably are the only ones who are capable of pulling that kind of stunt off. Well, I'm probably better than her.
そんなにしつこく言わなくてもいいでしょ。悪かったって言ってるじゃないですか。
I talked back with little hesitation. Am I getting tears yet? Yes! By the way, I've heard men can't shed tears on command. I feel sorry for them. The three punks faltered a bit due to my sudden change in attitude, but they soon started yelling at me again. I kept it going. That way, they'd blatantly look like they're picking on a helpless girl.
許してください。
This bitch, I swear she's devious.
なんだよこら。さっきまでの伊勢はどこ行ったんだよ、にゃろ。
そんなのだって
今頃泣くくれなら調子くれてんじゃねえんだよ、たくよ。
It looked like they were laying off a bit. Did I overdo it a little? It'd be boring if they let me go now. At that moment... What?
いい加減にしないか。
Hello? Hello?
もう泣いているじゃないか。やめてやれ。
It's him! It's the boy! A boy around my age appeared. He was skinny. He looked weak. He looked younger than he probably was. He also looked smart. He bravely glared at the punks.
だなこの野郎。足んねえことしてった邪魔するな。
A guy sounded like Jetstorm doing his Nipa voice. The punks turned away from me to face the boy instead. The boy looked a bit agitated when the punks started yelling at him. They sure were ruthless. But the boy must have known that from the beginning. He must have known that he was getting into a dangerous situation, yet he didn't hesitate.
黙ってたらわからんがな。
Fucking say something!
返事せんか返事。
He must have wanted to shout back at that. Wait a minute, we didn't do this, did we? We didn't do it. Hold on. Is there no Satoshi graphic? You're kidding me. There's no Satoshi graphics? But he'd probably never used that kind of language in his life, so he couldn't have expressed his feelings out loud. He might have not even known what to say, so he just kept glaring at them, to let them know that he wasn't going anywhere. Let's see here. They can't have really... Let's see here. Remake? Yeah, it's not changing at all. We'll have to do some looking in later scenes, maybe. To let them know that he wasn't going anywhere, the three punks, though, might have thought he was just lost for words in his fear, but I knew different. The boy was overpowering them with nothing but his will. The punks were losing, so they resorted to violence. They grabbed him and knocked him down. They hit, kicked, and tossed him around. It looked painful, but I knew it was his victory. In the end, local passersby stopped the punks. They made no further fuss and just went away. The boy stood up. He was covered in dust. He smiled when our eyes met and asked me if I was alright. He didn't look particularly okay himself, though.
よくもまあ勝てない喧嘩を買う人ですね。次からは勝てる算段がついてから喧嘩を買うことを深くお勧めしますけどね。
最初は迷ったよ。
Okay, let's try now. Okay, there's one. Okay, they just didn't have one for that particular expression, I would guess. There you go! There he is. There's our boy. That's the boy. He laughed, saying that he was watching. From the beginning. That meant he had an option to walk away, but instead he worked up the courage and stepped in.
そういうのは勇気って言わず、万有って言います。身の程知らずとも言うかな？
ミオンは口が減らないね。
Alright!
助けてくれてありがとうくらい言ってくれよ。泣いてたじゃないか。
別に泣いてなんかいません。あれはちょっとした演技で。
いいよ、演技でも。
ちょっと信じてないでしょ。私が本当に泣き出すと思いますか？
思わないよ。天下御免の園崎ミオンが不良にいじめられて泣き出したなんて誰も思わないよ。
何を笑ってるんですか？全然信じてないでしょ。私が半泣きなんてするわけない。
信じるから信じるから。
I realized one thing. He must be one of Sis's friends. He didn't seem to realize I'm her twin. He thought I was Mion with a different hairstyle. Mion and I had to live separately since we went to elementary school. Mion was in Hinamizawa, and I was in Okinomiya. I lived in a totally different environment from her, so it's not strange that people don't know me. Actually, only very few people know I exist. I almost told him that I'm not Mion, but I managed to stop myself. Shion shouldn't be here. He's from Hinamizawa. It wouldn't be good if he thought he saw Mion look-alike from Okinomiya. So, I had to act like Mion. Dealing with him could be more difficult than handling those punks.
でもま、ミオンにも少しは女の子らしいところがあったんで安心したよ。
なんだか妙に引っかかる言い方ですけど、つまりはどういう意味です？
ミオンのことだから、なんだか珍妙な憲法でも使って瞬く間に撃退してしまうんじゃないかって期待してたね。だから泣き出した時は正直驚いた。
だからあれは泣き真似だったって言ってるじゃないですか。さっきから人の話ちゃんと聞いて。
He gently put his hand on the top of my head and stroked it as if stroking a kitten. I could remember somebody doing that to me when I was little, but It had been quite a while since somebody stroked my head. I didn't know what to do. Why did it make me so embarrassed? My face reddened all at once. I couldn't say anything.
バカにしてます？ひょっとして。
I stuttered in embarrassment. He looked calm, as if he was used to doing it.
何でもいいよ。よかったじゃないか。
よかったって何がです？
無事で。
He smiled while he kept stroking my head. His smile looked divine. He wasn't going to stay for long. He'd already saved me from those guys after all.
じゃあ、僕は行かなきゃならないから。そろそろ行くね。
I wanted to go through all the steps of meeting someone for the first time, but he didn't. As far as he was concerned, he just saved a friend from danger and wanted to leave quickly to avoid seeming pretentious. He and Mion must be friends who knew each other well, so I couldn't bring myself to ask, "What's your name?" Mion's friend smiled once again. His smile looked as refreshing as a clear blue sky. This time he smiled a bit mischievously.
安心しなよ。ミオンが泣いてたなんて誰にも言わないから。
You best not, bitch. You'd really best not.
もっとも言ったところで誰も信じないだろうけどね。天下無双の委員長が泣いてたなんて絶対誰も信じない。
He patted the dust off his butt once again. He walked back to the sunny main road away from the dark alley. Then he turned around.
じゃあまた明日。学校でね。
学校で。
He disappeared into the brightly lit street. I continued to sit in the gloomy alleyway. I could no longer see him. I was just staring absent-mindedly at the bright light. That was the first time I met Satoshi-kun. I'm not even allowed to walk freely under the sun. I met a boy on a sunny day. How come a perverse girl like me fell in love with his innocence? Notebook, page 5.
そりゃあサトシだよ、サトシ。
We're going like a completely different kind of pacing with this arc. This is interesting.
その特徴的な雰囲気と気安く頭を撫でる癖は間違いないね。サトシくんって言うんだ。
The boy from earlier is called Satoshi Hojo-kun. Mion said that he's always daydreaming, so she didn't believe that he saved
普
me
段
at
は
first.
しっかり者の妹にいろいろと尻を叩かれてるな。妹がいるんだ。妹はサトコって言ってね。なかなか面白いやつだよ。
Satoko's funny!
なかなか悪知恵が働くしね。そのくせ追い詰められると泣くし。見てて退屈しない子だね。まあ、最近はいろいろとあってね。ちょっと調子を落としてるけど。
His sister came up naturally in the conversation. I tried to soak up every scrap of information about Satoshi-kun. Why? Why am I trying to ask so much about him? As I asked myself that, the feeling I got when he stroked my head came back to me. I must have been blushing.
もしもし？シオン？ごめん。
God damn, girls already got it bad.
聞い
Jeez.
てる。そもそもね、サトコがおばと折り合いが悪いらしいんだよね。サトシは大人だから、その辺はうまく立ち回ってるんだけどさ、サトコは嫌なことがあると素直に表情に出しちゃうからね。
What Sis told me was very interesting. She told me that the parents of Satoshi-kun and his little sister are dead. Satoshi-kun and Satoko are now living with their uncle and aunt. Yeah, probably fun to murder too, right? They don't seem like very respectable people. They're always fighting and the uncle is cheating on the aunt. He mostly lives with his mistress. Satoshi-kun and Satoko entered into that unwelcome environment. What surprises me the most is the fact that Satoshi-kun's parents were the Hojo couple who were the leaders of the pro-dam activists. That fact must have added something to the situation. I didn't know what kind of stance the uncle and aunt took during the damn conflict, but they must have taken some indirect blows. Satoshi-kun's parents died after bothering them so much, and even left them their children. The uncle and aunt obviously can't love those kids. Things have gotten worse in this past year or two. Women can be really nasty bullies. Sometimes it doesn't matter who they're bullying, even if it's a kid. On top of that, women tend to care less about women tend to care less about propriety than men. As a result, Satoko seems exhausted with it all. I can imagine Satoshi-kun bravely protecting his little sister, just like when he saved me.
なら、サトシ君も普段は疲れてるってことになるのかな。え？サトコがおばにいじめられるたびに、きっとサトシ君は妹をかばってると思う。妹が疲れるのと同じくらい、サトシ君も疲れてると思うのは、私の考えすぎ？どうだろうね。
Had I said something wrong? Mion sounded a bit taken aback, so that meant Mion can't tell how he's feeling, because he's always wearing that blank look, so she never considered it. How can she be that insensitive even though she's around him all the time? I was amazed to realize
まあ
that.
そんな話はいいや。で、彼は普段はどんなことをしてるの？文系みたいだから読書とか好きなわけ？想像に漏れずに普段は読書して過ごしてるよ。最近読んでる本はね、なんて言ったかな。
I continued asking about him, about what he likes, dislikes, what he thinks about. I asked all these questions because I wanted to know more about him. It was the first time I had ever been that interested in somebody. I didn't want to admit that I had feelings like that. Did I fall in love just because of a stroke on the head? Am I stupid or what? When I remember the feeling of his hand on my head, my heart feels tightly. I tried doing it myself, but it didn't feel the same. Imagine trying to give yourself a head pat. That's gotta look real dumb. Trying to give yourself a head pat like that. Yep, I'm stupid. What am I doing? Stroking my own head like a gigantic idiot.
おねえ、私もうダメだ。バカになっちゃった。
Every day the pain is real.
何を突然、気色悪い声で笑い出して。お姉にはわかるまい、この気持ち。
When would I see him again? I felt as if my suffocating life had finally grown brighter. Aww. Got a little crush. She's got a little crush going on right now. The life I lived was really beginning to suffocate me. I couldn't go out freely, and I always had to make arrangements with Mion before going to work. I had thought my life would improve after escaping from the school, but in reality, it wasn't that easy. It's not healthy to live like this for too long. Without any friends to hang out with, I felt like I was hibernating. I'd started to feel the dangers of falling into boredom. All I could think of was how Satoshi Hojo's face. I'd only met him briefly, but my encounter with him had a great impact on my new life. I felt like something exciting was going to happen. Really, I was hyped up like a little kid. The more I thought about it, I realized I'd been thinking about him a lot lately. This might have been a crush. Yo, Sarah, welcome. We just we relived that scene where Keiichi knocked over the motorcycles with his big old boner. Only Shion did that without her boner, because she doesn't have a boner. But she knocked down the motorcycles, and then Satoshi saved her. Interestingly enough. And now we think that, uh-oh. We think she's got a cute little crush. It's really adorable. I felt a little ridiculous idolizing him in such a romantic way, though. Then, out of the blue, I got a chance to see him again.
あれ？
I saw a familiar face at twilight in the park. He was sitting on the swing. He looked like he was zoning out or maybe deep in thought. He didn't notice me, even though I was right in front of him. I reminded myself to speak and act like Mion before talking to him.
Hey! 何やってんのこんなとこでさ。
ミオンか。びっくりしたな。
そんなに驚いてるようには見えないけどね。さっきからいたんだけど、ずっと気づかなかった？
そうなのかい？ごめん、気づかなかったよ。
He smiled self-derisively and shrugged. He looked depressed, like something was troubling him.
何か悩み事でも？聞いて楽になるものなら聞くし、力になれるものなら惜しまないけど。
いや、別に。
私はサトシ君には一個借りがあるからね。それとも何？おじさんじゃ力になれないと思ってるわけ？見くびられたもんだな。
Don't you know how mighty Mion is?
別に。ミオンの力を借りたら意味が。
ほう、それは何？つまり、私ごとき女の手は借りたくないってこと？
Thinking him unfair, I puffed up my cheeks in a sulky gesture. Satoshi-kun noticed and then he smiled.
違うんだよ、ミオン。僕に実力がなくて、ここ一番で打てなかったってだけのことなんだよ。
I mentally rifled through all the information about Satoshi-kun that Sis had given me. He doesn't look like much of an athlete, but apparently Satoshi-kun belongs to a junior baseball team. They're called the Hinamizawa Fighters. I doubt he's very skilled since I didn't hear much about his contributions to the team. Maybe that's why he doesn't tell many people that he's a member. Given how down he felt as a result of messing up, though, he must be fairly dedicated. I deduced all that from what Sis told me and carefully chose my words so as to sound like her.
なんだ、そんなことで落ち込んでるわけ？
そんなことでって。
It seems like it's going fine so far, Sayara. What's wrong?
簡単に言ってくれるな、ミオンは。
I pat his back while chuckling. Satoshi-kun would probably call me insensitive. I knew I should listen to him rather than trying to cheer him up. Acting like Sis was probably the wrong thing to do in this case, but I had no choice. Stuff and stuff, huh? This is just how she'd react in this situation.
それなら落ち込むんじゃなくて、なお一層練習に打ち込んで次のチャンスを目指すのが適当ってもんでしょうが。こういう時は練習しかないよ、練習。まあ、サトシ君に相手のピッチャーに小細工をしてまで勝ちたいという執念があるなら、おじさんいろいろと協力できるかもしれませんけどね。
ずるしても何の意味もないよ。This boy isn't part of the club yet, is he? Listen, man, there's this club that we have that is designed almost entirely around the idea of cheating. Satoshi-kun hung his head after letting his regrets out with a big sigh. Surrender, defeat, resignation were all visible in that gesture.
諦めがいいのか未練たらたらなのか。やっぱり男に生まれたからには一度くらいは晴れ舞台でスターになってみたいでしょう。
Satoshi-kun grinned and said yes.
もちろんヒーローを目指すのが花だけど、それが目的で野球をやってるわけじゃないよ。純粋にボールを投げたり打ったりするのが楽しいからやってるんだよ。ミオンでもそういうのわかるよね。
おじさんはそういうのはあんまわかんないかな。私は結果が一番であるならどんな種目でも大好きだし、一番になれないのに大好きなんてものはあんまりよくわかんないね。
This is literally everybody that plays video games these days.
ミオンらしい答えだな。
Having realized that I'm trying to make him feel better, he laughed along. He didn't look depressed anymore. I guess he was just feeling down because of the game. He wasn't as depressed as I thought. Maybe I just jumped to conclusions when I saw him sitting alone in the park.
でも、ミオンは一番になるためにいろいろと努力をするからね。それは偉いと思うよ。うん。
He smiled gently and stood up, then he started stroking my head. All of a sudden, I totally wasn't prepared for that.
Eh?
What, did she get a boner? What the hell happened? Why was there a boing? Why was there a boing sound effect? Shion's furry seal got loose. I thought this when he did it the last time, but how can he stroke somebody's head so easily? I felt like I had turned into a little kid. Memories from kindergarten came to mind. My face must have been red. I felt embarrassed, but I was also in heaven. Satoshi-kun stroked my head, though petting a cat. I was blushing with my eyes closed. I felt helpless, like a girl being treated by the dentist with her mouth open and her eyes shut. Satoshi-kun didn't seem to notice my feelings at all. He didn't seem to care.
I hate him.
With my eyes still closed, I waited for him to finish. Sorry, dirty thoughts. Sorry. Look, blame Shion for boinging, okay? She's the one that put us in this terrible, terrible frame of mind. He suddenly withdrew his hand. I'm just screenshotting that because that's really good.
じゃあ、僕はそろそろ帰るよ。
Oh good, the Higurashi are starting. That's probably a good sign.
おばさんに野球の帰りに買い物をしてくるよう頼まれてるから。
My voice faltered. I was so embarrassed.
買い物なら私も行くとこ。夕飯の買い物。
あれ、ミオもお手伝いさんが全部やってくれるって言ってなかったっけ？
Shoot! I messed up! In the main Sonozaki house, the maids do everything. Therefore, Mion hardly goes grocery shopping, and she's bragged to some people about that. I should have known better. Still, it wouldn't be too hard to find an
町に
excuse.
遊びに来るつもりでいたから、たまに買い物を私が引き受けてきたわけよ。お分かり？
ミオンにしては珍しいね。普段はそういうのめんどくさいって言って嫌がりそうなのに。
The maids are on furlough!
そういうのを余計なお世話って言います。
Oh, she boinged again.
頭撫でないで。
Satoshi-kun seemed to be having fun with how embarrassed I'd get when he patted me. Anyway, I managed to talk my way out of it. He didn't seem to really care about the details. While walking with Satoshi-kun to the shopping district of Kami-Ishiki, it suddenly occurred to me, why had I messed up? I'd known Mion would never go grocery shopping. What an amateurish mistake. Did I make the mistake that I was pretending to be Mion? No. I was probably speaking as Shion. I couldn't keep lying to myself. I had to just admit, it was simply because I wanted to spend as much time with Satoshi-kun as possible. It was easy to see why I was so attracted to him. I'd found something intriguing in my boring life, and I didn't have to feel tense because he thought I was somebody else. Etc., etc. His easygoing nature made him fun to be around, and his habit of petting people on the head was fun too. From these symptoms, I could tell I was embracing the feelings of love. I was just casually enjoying that feeling. It wasn't like I fell in love with him. Totally not. At all. Like, that's not how this works. I was just having fun. I could simply spend a fun time with Satoshi-kun without having to think too much. Yo, it's been a while since we've had this music. Oh god, they both don't know what broccoli is?
緑だっけ？黄色だっけ？
サトシ君、そっちはカリフラワー。サトシ君ってひょっとしてキャベツとレタスの区別がつかないタイプ？
それはひどいよ。
That's not a kind of color blindness. These two children are just very stupid.
これでも精一杯区別してるつもり。
Satoshi-kun stared at at the heaps of broccoli and cauliflower. After thinking for a while, he reached out for the wrong
それ違
one.
う。サトシ君の買い物は見ててハラハラしますね。見てるこっちは楽しいけどさ。
参ったな。サトコと一緒の時にも迷うんだよ。ブロッコリーとカリフラワーはどっちが何色だっけってね。
I feel like this is something the both of them could easily remedy. If they, just write it down somewhere, study it a little bit.
Broccoli's the green one?
あんたら兄弟二人揃って面白すぎです。
Sister told me that Satoshi was a flaky big brother to his nagging sister. I hadn't met Satoko, but she must be having a tough time dealing with Satoshi-kun. He stumbles over everything he buys, after all.
それは調理塩。胡椒とか混じってますから、卓上塩とは異なります。
そうなの？ほら、確か理科の実験で塩と胡椒を分離するのを
How
確か。
sheltered is this boy?
言い訳はいいから棚に戻す。こっちが普通のお塩ね。で、次は
ミオンがいてくれると買い物が楽で助かるよ。
サトシ君、頭良さそうに見えて社会生活に支障ありすぎです。もう少しお勉強した方がいいと思います。
それはひどいな。あった、これかな。ひょいひょい。
In it goes.
だからそれは違う。何でもカゴに放り込む前に値段と何人分かをよく確認する。
My first impression of Satoshi-kun was that he was strong and reliable, but the more I spoke to him, the more surprised I was at how clumsy and unreliable he was. How do I put it? It was hard to leave him alone. He was dangerous on his own. If he wasn't careful, he might start wondering, do you cross the street when the light is red? Or was it green? Does this boy know what green is? And get himself run over by a dump truck.
Sweat drop.
1780円になります。スタンプカードはお持ちですか？
はい、あります。あれ、どこかな。
すみません。ちょっと見当たらないんで今度でいいです。
I finished checking out, ignoring Satoshi-kun as he fished through his wallet full of receipts.
ひどいな、ミオン。スタンプちゃんと押さないともったいないよ。
あんた、夕暮れ時のお買い物ラッシュの時にのんびりと財布を漁ってスタンプカードなんか探さない。後ろに大勢待ってるんだから。私たちの後ろでお店に山線のおばさま方が早くしなさいざますって目でギロギロ睨んでたの気づいてなかったんですか？そういう時はレジ前に並んでる時からあらかじめ用意しておくの。
そうか。いいことを聞いたよ。
ちなみにここでのことだけじゃないですからね。バスに乗る時もそう。サトシ君、バスを降りようとして料金を入れる時、その時になって初めてお財布を開けて小銭をちまちまと探して後ろの人を詰まらせて待たせてるでしょう。
みんな僕を追い抜いて勝手に料金を入れてるかな。
はあ、それはね、すっごーく周りに迷惑をかけているのです。そういうのはあらかじめ用意しておくのがマナー。わかりました？
わかったよ。今日のミオンは怖いな。
Satoshi-kun smiled as if patronizing me. I couldn't believe it. He was definitely the type who made women want to protect him. Sure, he was fine as he was when he had a busybody like me around him, but I couldn't stop worrying whenever he would be able whether he would be able to function in society without someone like that nearby. We got plastic bags and sorted out what we bought. Satoshi-kun put a pack of tofu at the bottom of the bag. I slapped his hand and put a milk carton instead.
はい、これで OK。これで台所で買い物袋を広げて、お母さんに仰天されなくて済みますからね。
ありがとう。助かったよ。僕はどうも買い物が苦手でさ。
買い物だけ？正直におっしゃい。嘘冗談。
I had realized a few things while he was spending time with him today. He's not just bad at shopping, he's also chronically clumsy. In general, you could call him a slow thinker. That meant when he stepped into the quarrel with the punks, he must have needed a lot of courage. He might be a simpleton, but he's not stupid. I don't know about that, Shion. I think like we keep having this problem with broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce and cabbage. Like there's maybe a little something we need to take into consideration. You're not wrong. He's aware of his weaknesses, so he must be aware of the danger in that situation. He could have chosen to walk away even though I was in trouble. He chose to be a man and stepped in. That was really admirable of him.
偉い。サトシ君は頑張ったよ。いい子。
なんだよ。急に人の頭を撫でないでくれよ。
サトシ君が一人でお買い物ができましたでしょう。なで。
ミオン、僕のことすっごいバカにしてるだろ。
Oh yeah, Satoshi is hyper bishy.
してないよ。
Welcome, Raven. Hope things are
お
well.
家一人で帰れるかな？
Satoshi-kun saved Shion from getting beat up because she knocked over a bunch of motorcycles, and now she's in love. That's kind of where we're at.
道わかる？
And also, she's pretending to be Neon while they're out, so this could get a little confusing later on.
やっぱりバカにしてる。
Satoshi-kun's sulky face flushed red. He's just too cute. At that point, I caught a glimpse of the billboard from the corner of my eye. Piano lessons, call XX, abacus class, junior baseball team, members wanted. It was a posting for the team Satoshi-kun belonged to. It showed the day, time, and place of their next practice. By then, I knew just how flaky he was. I figured he must be just the same when playing baseball. Satoshi-kun realized that I was reading the posting. He looked uncomfortable and walked
今
away.
サトシ君は思った。頼むからミオン。野球やってるとこまで来ないでくれよ。図星？そのムーってのはつまり何さ？図星ってことでしょ。
Satoshi-kun became quiet after mumbling something. It seemed like he couldn't say anything back since I had been right on the money. Satoshi-kun, you're just too cute. I don't think going silent is a good way to dodge the issue. Well, that might have just been the way innocent people like him would react in a situation like that.
じゃあね、サトシ君。暗くなりかけてるから気をつけて帰ってね。
ミオンは一緒に帰らないのか
Oh,
い？
whoops!
ひなみ沢。
Whoops.
私はもうちょっと寄るとこありますんで、気にしないで先に帰ってください。
僕の買い物を手伝ってもらったんだから付き合うよ。
Uh-oh.
今度は僕が手伝う。
大丈夫。っていうか、サトシ君が何を手伝うおつもりで？人の手伝いする前に自分が手伝われなくて買い物できるようになっといてくださいな。
Yeah, you worthless boy.
今日のミオンはひときわ意地悪かな。
Maybe. He seemed to have some pride at least. He looked a bit upset because he was teased by a girl. But in contrast, I felt very satisfied. As a result, I forgot to keep my guard up.
でも手伝ってくれてありがとうね。本当に助かったから。
Oh, she boinged again. She just keeps doing it. Come back to me when you know what broccoli is. Oh my god. Hold on. Now, we're going to the tape on that one. We're going to tape on this one! Oh my Christ. June has literally, like, June, is that like the first time that you've typed the word boing properly this evening? I think that's been a bit of an issue. While wearing a bright smile, Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head again. Those don't fit at all. I know he's teasing me, but oh, I can't reject him. He keeps doing it only because he's realized I won't resist.
じゃあね、ミオン。暗くならないうちに用事を済ませてね。また明日学校で。
あ、うん。また明日学校でね。
In fact, I wouldn't see him tomorrow at all. It felt awkward, but I had to settle for that. I had to thank Sis for letting me use her name. After I separated from him, I found myself giddy and wishing to see him again as soon as possible. I wanted to know more about him. I couldn't wait for my next chance to see him. Actually, maybe there was something I could do. Just like when I obtained my freedom from St. Lucia's. I could choose how to live my life. Whatever. It wasn't that complicated. I just wanted to tease him more. I wanted him to stroke my head more. And, whatever. I already knew the schedule for the baseball team. Uh-oh. I think girls got plans. A clumped diary. A crumpled diary. Okay. I can read, I swear. I promise. I want him to stroke my head more. Alright, we've got another crumpled diary. This is probably fine. My aunt finally stopped her hysterical screaming. Today was just like any other day. I can't remember what set her off. Whatever it was, she changed subjects constantly anyway. It didn't matter. She went on past midnight again. The urge to sleep was pounding in the back of my head. Once Satoko had been able to relax, she fell down on the spot and started sleeping, still clinging to my sleeve. I carried Satoko to the bedroom and laid out our futon.
ほら、サトコ。布団が敷けたよ。布団に入りな。
Satoko crawled in like a worm. She stopped moving once she was inside. I wished I could go to bed too, but I couldn't. My aunt asked me to do some chores. I had to get toothpaste after school tomorrow. I had to write it down somewhere. I had to make rice for lunch tomorrow. I set the timer. Right. I also had to repile the towels in the bathroom. Repile. I've not used that word ever in my life, I don't think. That was the reason for today's scolding. My aunt will get mad if everything isn't done the way she wants. Oh, and there was something else. I was working at the grocery store the next day. They wanted me to bring an apron. Did we even have an apron in this house? I'd never seen one. My aunt will be sleeping by the time I go to school, so I won't have time to ask her. What should I do? This man helped me get the job. I don't want to screw it up. In that case, why don't I ask Mian about it at school? She might lend me one. Was there anything else? I was envious of Satoko because she'd got to go to bed. It was pathetic that I felt that way. Oof. This diary's probably gonna get more rough as we go, folks. I don't think this is gonna be... I don't think this diary's gonna get much happier as we go. So what do you folks want to do? Do you want to call it there for the night, or do you want to go for another? I'm gonna leave it up to chat. What does chat want to do? You good for that, or do we want to do another? Let's end on a good note. Okay. This will be a little bit of a short one tonight, but we'll come back tomorrow. I know that the next chapter is definitely a bit longer.